Hi there. My name is Shelley Poole, and I'm the confidential advocate and assistant director in the Violence Intervention and Prevention Services area. Before we get started, I want to encourage you to always take care of yourself. This presentation does include language and discussion around sexual assault, intimate partner violence, and stalking. And so, if you believe that will be upsetting or triggering to you in any way, I encourage you to stop at this point and reach out to me at sapoole, S-A-P-O-O-L-E, at olemiss.edu, and you will not be required to complete this particular section of the presentation. Um, but I'm excited you're here. I'm excited to talk about the services in this area. And I also serve students who have experienced sexual violence before their time at the university, so I want to make sure you know about that as well as people who have experienced something during their time here. I'll go ahead and get started. The reason that my office exists and these services are available is that we know, nationally speaking, that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men have been victim survivors of sexual violence at some point in their lives. That's nearly 23 million women and 1.7 million men have been victim survivors of rape or attempted rape at some point. We also know that the age range of highest risk of intimate partner violence is between the age of 18 and 24. That is defined by a pattern of abusive behaviors used by one individual intended to exert power and control over another individual in the context of an intimate or family relationship. So some of the reasons that we think that this is possible, or the reason this occurs, is that sometimes between the ages of 18 and 24, it's a person's first serious relationship, and it's difficult to know what is normal. So hopefully we will teach you some things to look for and some things to avoid in a relationship, but encourage you, if you're ever concerned, to reach out and have a confidential conversation in my office if you're ever wanting to just talk about it and process that. So we also, with that, know that 1 in 4 women, and nationally speaking, are victim survivors of intimate partner violence, and 1 in 9 men are survivors of intimate partner violence. So on our college campuses, we know 1 in 5 women are likely victim survivors of sexual violence. And some of the ways that that occurs are at the bottom of the screen: harassment, stalking, interpersonal domestic violence, and non-physical sexual violence. We also know, statistically speaking, on college campuses that 1 in 16 men are also victim survivors of sexual violence. So if you imagine that you're in a classroom, a lecture hall of 90 students, and every 5th female stood up and counted off, and 1 in 16 men stood up to represent the number of students in a lecture hall of 90 people, you're going to have about 18 women that stand up to show representation of that, and a good handful of men as well. So we know men are impacted by sexual violence and as well. And I want you all to be aware of that for a couple of different reasons. I want you to know that if something does happen, that you're not alone. There are a lot of people around you who have experienced it. We just don't talk about sexual violence as much. It's an uncomfortable and very private matter. So the downside of that is that often people feel alone because they don't realize how many people around them have experienced this type of incident. But also, I want people to be aware of the numbers, because I really think it's important for people to be sensitive and trauma informed, knowing that it's very likely someone around them has experienced something similar, and to be sensitive about that. We also know people of color and LGBTQ people disproportionately experience violence. This is really important to note. More than 20% of Black women are assaulted during their lifetimes, a higher share among women overall. We also know Black women face high rates of intimate partner violence, rape, and homicide. 21% of transgender, genderqueer, and non-conforming college students have been sexually assaulted, compared to 18% of their heterosexual peers. So it's really important to note that people of color and our LGBTQ community are at higher risk for sexual violence. And sometimes there are even additional barriers to seeking services and support. So if you experience something before you come to the university or during your time at the university, I have this flyer here for you to look at and be aware of all the different services available to you. At the top, it says, I may have experienced sexual assault, relationship violence, or stalking. And the reason it says I may have is because oftentimes that's when people come to my office. They'll sit down and they'll say, I may have been sexually assaulted last night. When in fact, they may have been very violently and egregiously sexually assaulted, but it takes a safe place to even admit that to themselves sometimes. Or I may be in a relationship that's unhealthy and I can't tell if it's abusive or not. It takes a safe place to have that conversation and process that and to sort through it. It can be really confusing. So if a person wants a confidential conversation, I'm available in the Violence Prevention and Intervention Services area. This is my phone number. It's in the middle. It's 662-915-1059. You're welcome to call. Also, my email, sapool@olemiss.edu. And often students email me. That's a really easy way to reach out. Sometimes I get emails at 2 in the morning, and I usually return it the next day, but just it's an easy, low barrier way to reach out for support. The Counseling Center is also a confidential resource, and the Student Health Center is also a confidential resource. So I want you to know about places that you can go if you have something happen that you want to talk through and get support. If someone you know or if you need medical attention, for immediate 24-hour help, you can call off campus at 911 and on campus for 911. For medical care, there's the Student Health Center and Baptist Memorial Hospital. So if there's been any type of sexual assault, both of those places do provide evidence collection exams, as well as overall medical care, as well as STI testing. So sometimes after something happens, sometimes students just say, I just want to make sure everything's okay. And that's fine too. You can go to those two places for that service. And they will, at that point, offer to you to have me come as an advocate, just to come and provide information there as well. I see my job as an advocate to never force, encourage, or judgmentally encourage any type of action. So if I respond or if you come to my office, it's going to be, here are all of your options and all the services available, and I'll help you kind of weigh pros and cons to any of those services or possibilities and avenues to move forward. But it's really up to each person to decide what's best for them. So that's my role, is just to help provide what's available and all the different options. If a student does want to make a report, then on campus, you can go to the Title IX office. That's their phone number, and you can email Honey Ursery. She's the Title IX coordinator. Also, that's UPD. That's their phone number. You can call there and also ask to make a report there as well. You can also make a report if it happened off campus at OPD. That's the Oxford Police Department, and that's the Lafayette County Sheriff there on the lower right. So these are all the different services and options available to you if something should happen. I also want to make sure you're aware of all of the different services available following an incident. And like I said earlier, if that happens either before your time at the university or during your time at the university, you are eligible for all of these services at any time. Academic accommodations, I do a lot of academic accommodations. I always say you can't time trauma for Saturday afternoon during some convenient time between 3 and 5. Often trauma is triggered and can happen maybe the night before an exam or a paper's due, or sometimes people can't sleep and they end up sleeping in the next morning and missing class. I can work with instructors to excuse absences and request paper extensions and such. It needs to be reasonable, but I have really found that people don't reach out for help unless they need it, and I have found requests to be quite reasonable. This can kind of come in phases as well. Sometimes right after an incident or right after a person's remembering an incident, they might need a little bit more support, and then over time, it becomes less and less unless something else is triggered as well. I also make referrals for medical and mental health services on campus as well as off campus. We have our on-campus counseling center. There are also counseling options in the community that I refer students to. Also, I can work with housing to make changes in campus housing and dining locations and find alternative housing. Also, we have safe rooms on campus that I really want you to know about. We have rooms in the male residence halls as well as the female residence halls. So if you need to be placed in a safe room, if you're not feeling safe, then I can definitely help you with that as well. We also have something called a no contact directive, which is one of my favorite tools. If something happens and a person doesn't want to have contact with another person, it's a really simple request that I can make with the contact office and request a letter be sent out to both parties actually, where the students can't have contact with each other directly or indirectly through social media, through third party, nothing like that. And that really helps someone who's experienced an assault to kind of regain some emotional space and feel safe to really decide what the next best step is. Also, I can help arrange an escort on campus if a student's not feeling safe, and parking arrangements, which sounds really simple, but it's really helpful if a student is feeling overwhelmed and traumatized and nervous and anxious and worried about having a panic attack. If that person can park right next to their building, go in and leave, they're going to feel a lot more control navigating their day. So I can also just work on securing additional resources and assistance offering campus and community support and services. So I'm kind of a one-stop shop for all the different things that are available for someone who experiences any type of sexual misconduct. Lastly, the resources, just to recap, there's the Violence Intervention and Prevention Services area. That's my office. I'm currently located in Long Street, which is right across from Rebel Market. You're welcome to stop by, but like I said, the best way to reach me probably anytime is really just to send me an email and set up an appointment that way. During the pandemic, I'm doing most of my sessions online via HIPAA-compliant Zoom sessions. I do respond to crisis situations either at the hospital or the police department or the student health center or Title IX. I can respond in person to all of those places. However, ongoing support, a lot of that has been by Zoom and telehealth options. The Counseling Center is also a wonderful resource on campus, and they're also providing remote telehealth sessions right now to students who are living in Mississippi. And you can go to Title IX as well. That's the phone number. You have the email earlier. But if you forget everything I said today, you can find all this information on umsafe.olemiss.edu. So that's why UMSafe is in large letters. I want you to know that if anything happens, that you're not alone. There are people here to support you through this process and healing journey. So if you need anything at all, please reach out. I encourage you to do that, and stay safe and hope you have a wonderful semester.